Cheers, James. Grace and peace to you. Welcome to Morning Watch. I'm Rob, one of the pastors here at White Plains. Glad to have you with us today on a Tuesday. This is where we gather for a song and a thought for the day. Oh yeah, man. 4 sips. How about 5? I'm trying to get going this morning. My brother. Glad to have you with us. Thanks for being here whenever you're watching. Let's begin our time together by going to God in prayer. Help me call a blessing down, for I think our poor old world needs it. A blessing of peace. A blessing of the ordinary. A blessing of national life without chaos and personal life without fear. Help me pray a healing down, for I know how much we need it. A strengthening of the bonds between us, simple respect and patient listening, a new beginning for us all. Help me welcome the sacred down, the wide-winged spirit drawn from every corner of heaven to walk among us once more, to show us again how it can be, when justice is the path and love the destination. Amen and amen. Good morning, Kenna. Yeah, you know, James, when a basketball player steps up to the free throw line, bounces 3 times, that's kind of like me with my coffee in the morning. Got to have 3 or 4 sips to get going. All right. So I don't normally do this, but I'm going to play you one of my original songs this morning. It's been a song that's been on my mind a lot. Hey, Terry, good morning. This is, of course, Ladder to the Light by Bishop Stephen Charleston that we've been reading. And we are on the 6th rung of the ladder, which is the rung of truth. And he's talking about seeing truth as it is, including some very uncomfortable truths about the way that his people, the Native American people, were treated over time. And that has just got me flashing back to this song I wrote a long time ago called When I See Red. And good morning, Robin. And the story behind this song is I was out one night and looked up and saw how you see red clouds in the sky at night. And I was like, man, that is red in the sky. There is no, and it just occurred to me that, some people see something and call it something that it is not. But when I looked up and saw it is red, how could anyone disagree with that, right? And yeah, that was kind of the germ of this idea. And again, this was, hey, Vernon, good morning. So again, this was 30 years ago, but I think still rings, hopefully still rings true for you today. When one man looks at another man's skin and not into his eyes, in God's sight that must be a sin. And I don't understand why, but it's been happening for years on this trail of tears. We burned the houses and took the earth. The Native Americans can determine what know the stereotype. Well, did his environment bring him down? Or did he just lose sight of the hope in his soul? Dear God, make him old when I see red way up in the sky. Tell me what you see. Too many men are dead, buried in the ground for us to disagree. And we adore our ancestors' crimes, we'll be blind to the hatred in our own time. When I see red, tell me what you see. Too many men are dead, buried in the ground for us to disagree. May not have a common frame of reference, that's true, but we both live on the material plane. In the hereafter too, where there'll be no more wars. What was the fighting for when I see red? Way up in the sky, tell me what you see. Too many men are dead, buried in the ground for us to disagree. Oh, when I see red, way up in the sky, tell me what you see. Too many men are dead, buried in the ground, buried in the ground, buried in the ground. Yeah, there you go. Of course, thanks to the wonders of the baritone guitar that I can even sing that song now. I think it's pitched in B now. I think it was pretty sure I had it pitched up in about D or so maybe even E before. So, yeah. That wasn't happening, but found a decent arrangement for it in that key. When I see red. Thank you, Kenna. I don't do that a lot. Don't do that indulgence a lot, but that song has just been on my mind, and I'll take it for the gift that it is. So Charleston writes, when trust goes missing. He says, doubt is like water. It can creep into any opening, find any channel, no matter how small, and slowly erode any foundation, no matter how strong it may seem. Doubt whispers. It breathes its worry into the ears, playing fear like music as the sound of suspicion grows quietly in a nervous mind. While we can question anything and become stronger, we can doubt everything and grow as weak as a flower that cannot find the sun. What we have is only as strong as what we believe. If our faith abandons us, if our trust goes missing, then what remains is only a shell. An empty space where once great hopes grew like a forest and dreams bloomed like wildflowers along the road. He says the sixth rung on the ladder to the light is a breakthrough moment. It is the loss of illusion. It is when we begin to see clearly. The light at this level is too bright to hide the truth. Instead, it reveals it. Realizing, for example, that the United States withheld citizenship from its original inhabitants for so long, in a conscious effort to despoil them by denying them the basic right to vote or hold office. It's a painful awareness for those of us who believe in justice. But it is a necessary pain, because it helps us confront the difference between history as truth and history as myth. Like religious systems, political systems arise from a historic narrative, a national story, and the memory of the people. This might be the memory of an exodus, or the memory of crossing the Delaware River. Either way, the collective history of a community is both its archetype and its ideal. Political systems are who we think we want to be. They're wrapped up in our myths and our history. They're infused with our sense of identity, and they're designed to turn what we hope for into reality. Political systems are fundamentally pragmatic. They have a job to do, to translate dream to fact. We choose to put in charge of this machinery agents of the process. We ask them to manage, and they take on the mantle of the people, embodying our trust while they represent our needs. Then he writes that sacred vision is our inheritance. Long ago, the maker of all things gave each tribe of creation a special gift. To the bears went strength, to the eagles wisdom, to the deer grace and beauty. To human beings, they had none of these gifts, for they were not as strong, wise, or beautiful as other animals. But they were given one thing that was special to them, and that is vision. The ability to see both what is now and what is coming to be. Sacred vision is our holy inheritance. Not how strong we are, not how wise we are, or how beautiful we are. Only what we can see through the eyes of God, through the eyes of the Spirit. For what we see is what we will become. So he says Native American leaders were selected for their skills in dealing with real problems of the people. These leaders were known to the people because they literally broke bread with them. They lived not in the context of power, but of community. They were not set apart or pampered. They were specialists in certain areas, entrusted with coping with a particular problem until it was resolved, and then they returned to their lives within the community without fanfare or recompense. Native American leaders in the traditional sense were engineers. If they could convince people that they had a bright idea for fixing a problem or dealing with a need, then people would entrust them to do that for as long as it took. But leaders knew that their positions would be temporary. Once the job was done, they would return to the collective, the extended family of the nation. This time limit was critical. For a special reason, for a spiritual reason. My ancestors understood that the only natural predator of truth in the jungle of politics is power. I'm going to say that one again. My ancestors understood that the only natural predator of truth in the jungle of politics is power. He says when power stands on its head, the president in overalls, the princess in work boots, senators in the machine shop, judges waiting tables. How different to see power standing on its head. Power plays dress up, wrapping itself in flags like dresses, posing before the mirror of its own reflection. Justice wears an apron, standing in the kitchen to do the work that must be done. What we do for the most must be what we do for the least. What we do for the most must be what we do for the least. Sounds like Matthew 25. No labor above another, no one to rule, but many to reason. All working together, all working for one another. Can we even imagine it? Yes. When the promises pile up high enough, yes, we can begin to imagine it. He writes, governmental continuity was provided not by career politicians, but by the elders. The collective wisdom of people who had lived through many challenging experiences was valued over the rhetoric of those who may never even have had the experience. And like traditional spiritual leaders, political leaders could not be picked out from the crowd by how they dressed or how they were treated. They did not live in special places. They did not receive special perks. They did not have special privileges. In fact, taking on roles of leadership usually meant giving away everything they owned. When I was ordained as an Episcopal priest, he writes, many years ago on the Standing Rock Sioux Reservation, part of the ceremony was a giveaway. Unlike the European tradition, of ordination, in which an individual expects to receive gifts, as a native person I was expected to give gifts on my honoring day. The sign of my leadership was not how much I could get, but how much I could give. If I wanted to have the role of a leader, if that is what I felt called to do, then I had to be prepared to make sacrifices for the people. And the giveaway reminded me of that principle. Well, I suspect, as we did in the rung of action, where we were talking about religious systems, I suspect we're going to continue to hear a lot about Bishop Charleston's traditions and how we might, in some unfathomable way, live into them better today, right? I say unfathomable, but if I can speak it, is because sometimes it seems impossible to live into these ideals that he describes that would seem to me to resonate in all our hearts. And yet. Well, thanks for being here and hanging in through all of this. Yes, very relevant to us today. Thanks, Robin. Thanks, Emma. Yep, you got it, Keith. All right, thanks for being here. I'll look forward to seeing you again tomorrow for another morning watch as we continue on this rung of truth. May you find peace and purpose in this day. All right, take care.